Hey there, and welcome back to the deep dive. Ever wonder how some businesses just seem to how things just work?
Yeah, like there's a hidden engine running things.
Exactly. And today, we're sort of pulling back the curtain on that. We're diving into this idea of an operations system.
Mm.
Think of it as the hidden architecture. It underpins basically everything a business does.
From making tiny products to delivering huge services.
Right. It's about really understanding that fundamental engine, how value gets created.
Spot on. It's the core logic, really, of any organization. And in this deep dive, we're going to break it right down.
Into its key parts.
Yeah, the crucial bits. You've got the inputs, the resources that go in. Then there's the transformation process.
That's the bit where things get changed or combined.
Exactly. How those inputs become something else. And then finally, you get the outputs.
The finished goods or services, the end result.
Precise.
And for you, our listener, always curious about how stuff really works, we want to make this super practical.
Mm.
So we'll look at real examples, both manufacturing, where you can, touch the result.
Tangible stuff.
Yeah. And service industries, where it's maybe more about an experience or an outcome.
Intangible.
The idea is to give you a really clear lens for, understanding how pretty much any organization gets things done.
And we're basing this on some established definitions, solid sources that define operation systems, so we have a good foundation.
Great. Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty then. Starting at the beginning, what goes into the system? Inputs. What are we actually talking about?
Okay, inputs. Well, they're basically all the resources a business uses to create whatever it is they create.
Products or services, right?
Yeah, and some of this stuff they might own outright. Buildings, machinery.
Their own assets.
Right, and other things they get from suppliers. The source we looked at breaks them down into 6 main types, which is actually really helpful. Gives a full picture.
6 categories. Okay, lay them on us.
All right, first up, natural resources and materials. This is the raw stuff.
Like wood for a table or metal for a car.
Exactly, or ingredients for food. It also covers components and parts that go into the final thing, like the chip in your phone.
Got it. The tangible building blocks. What's number 2?
Number 2 is physical resources. These are more the long-term assets the business needs just to operate.
So the factory itself.
Mm-hmm.
Or the office.
Yeah, and the machinery inside it, the tools, delivery trucks, computers, any physical property that's essential. The robots on that car assembly line, maybe.
Right, the infrastructure. Okay, number 3.
Human resources. Simple enough, it's the people.
Everyone involved.
Pretty much anyone involved in the operations process.
Yeah.
Factory workers, bank tellers, software developers, the people doing the work.
The human element. Can't do without that. What about money?
Ah, yes, that's category 4. Financial resources.
Yeah.
Basically the funds, the capital you need to run things.
To buy the materials, pay the people.
Pay salaries, invest in that equipment we mentioned, cover all the running costs. Yeah.
Makes sense. You need the cash flow. What are the last 2? These sound important.
They really are. Number 5 is information. Now, this one's interesting because its value isn't always, easy to put a dollar test on.
But it's crucial.
Absolutely critical.
Yeah.
It's all the knowledge, the data, the insights that guide the whole process.
Like market research or sales forecasts.
Exactly. Or customer feedback that helps you improve a service. It's kind of the intelligence guiding the operation.
The know-how and the data that makes everything else work better.
Okay. And the 6th one.
Last but not least, time. And using time efficiently, well, it's vital for any successful operation.
Because wasted time is wasted money.
And resources, yeah. Coordinating everything effectively, hitting deadlines, it directly impacts costs, waste, how quickly you can meet customer needs. The source even mentions that operational planning can span years or just minutes.
Wow. Time, the one thing you can't make more of. Okay, so the source highlights that these inputs, their types, and maybe how important each one is, can look really different depending on whether you're making something or providing a service. Can you give us examples? Yeah, definitely. Let's take Yakult, that probiotic drink company.
Okay.
Their inputs are heavily weighted towards, physical resources, those big fermentation tanks, the bottling lines.
Specialized equipment.
Right. And materials. The milk, sugar, water, that specific bacteria strain. They obviously need people and information too, but the sheer scale of their equipment and raw ingredients is huge.
So lots of tangible stuff going in. How's that different from, say, a bank? Let's use Commonwealth Bank.
Go Commonwealth Bank. They still have physical things like branches, ATMs, computers.
Sure.
But the balance shifts, right? Human resources tellers, advisors, loan officers, they become way more dominant as an input.
People are key.
And maybe even more vital is information. Think about all the customer financial data they handle. regulatory stuff they need to know. That information is a core input for their services. Materials like computers are used, sure, but it's fundamentally driven by people and data.
Interesting. So less about physically changing raw materials, much more about using people and information to deliver something. Okay, inputs sorted. What's next? All these resources get funneled into the second part, processes. Or transformation,
Exactly. Transformation. This is where the magic happens, you could say.
where the inputs become outputs.
It's what takes all those different inputs and actually turns them into the final product or service.
Yeah.
It's the engine room, where the value gets created.
Give us a picture of this. Sony was mentioned as an example.
Yeah, Sony's a classic manufacturing transformation. They take loads of inputs, plastic, metal, glass, electronic bits.
Often from all over the world, right?
Oh, yeah, global supply
Yeah.
chains, hundreds of suppliers, potentially.
Yeah.
And through complex design, manufacturing steps, assembly, they transform all that raw material and those components into, TVs, cameras, whatever. It's a massive coordination effort.
Thousands of inputs, hundreds of businesses. Hard to wrap your head around sometimes. And the source stresses that transformation isn't just physical change. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a key point. We might think of assembly lines, but it totally includes converting resources into services.
Like the school example.
The school example is perfect. Inputs are students, teachers, books, curriculum, study designs, support staff, buildings.
Right.
The transformation is the teaching, the learning activities, the mentoring, administration, all of that. And the output,
Huh.
hopefully well-educated school leavers, people with new knowledge and skills.
Yeah. No physical product, but definitely a transformation
A
happened.
huge one.
Okay, so drilling down again. How do the actual processes differ between Yakult, the manufacturer, and Commonwealth Bank, the service provider?
Well, Yakult's process is really rooted in physically transforming ingredients. They mix them precisely, use specialized machines to ferment it,
Very controlled.
highly controlled. Then quality testing, bottling, packaging. The key thing is how automated and mechanized it is. Machines do a lot of the heavy lifting.
Right, lots of shiny equipment doing its thing.
Correct.
And the bank.
Commonwealth Bank. Their transformation is much more about handling information, using time effectively, and applying the expertise of their staff.
So people and systems.
Yeah. They transform customer data and staff knowledge into financial advice, managing accounts, processing loan applications. It tends to be more labor-intensive, relies a lot on the interaction between staff and customers.
And their IT systems working properly.
Oh, absolutely. That's critical. Secure, reliable systems are part of that transformation.
So one driven by machines and chemistry almost, the other by people and information flows. Big difference. And the source mentioned businesses are always trying to get better at this transformation part. It's not static.
Definitely not. Everyone's always looking for ways to be more efficient, cut costs, improve quality. It's constant.
Like lean manufacturing.
Yeah, in manufacturing, things like lean to cut waste. In services, maybe it's using CRM systems better to personalize things for customers.
Improve the customer experience.
Exactly. Which is an improvement in their service delivery process, ultimately boosting loyalty.
Okay, inputs transformed leads us to the final piece. Outputs. What comes out at the end?
Right, outputs. The final good or service that actually gets delivered to the customer. It's the result of everything that went before.
And surprise, surprise, there's a difference between manufacturing and service outputs here too.
You got it. Manufactural businesses mostly make tangible products, physical things you can see and touch.
Like that bottle of Yakult.
Exactly. And the source notes these are often homogeneous, meaning one is pretty much identical to the next, like mass-produced shirts or standard bolts. Consistency is key.
Standardized, physical items, services.
Service businesses create intangible services, things you can't really hold, and they're often differentiated.
Meaning they can be tweaked for each customer.
Yeah, tailored to specific needs. Think about getting financial advice that's personalized, or a haircut style just for you. The output is often an experience or an outcome that's kind of unique.
Customized, experiential. Okay, let's tie it all together.
Yeah.
Can we quickly run through Yakult and Commonwealth Bank again, looking at the whole system? Inputs, transformation, output,
Alcohol,
inputs.
milk, sugar, bacteria, natural resources, materials, the factory, the tanks, physical resources, the workers, human resources, quality control data, information, fermentation,
Yeah.
transformation, mixing, fermenting, testing, bottling, packaging,
Right.
output, little bottle of fermented milk drink. Tangible product.
Clear, product focused. Now, the bank.
Commonwealth Bank.
Yeah.
Inputs, computer systems, software, materials capital equipment, branches, physical resources,
Yeah.
tellers, advisors, labor, human resources, customer data, market information, processing time,
Got it.
transformation, running secure systems, training staff, customer service interactions, developing banking procedures, processing transactions.
Lots processes there.
Yep. And the output. Delivery of financial services, advice, accounts, loans, intangible service.
More about enabling things, providing expertise. Okay. Now, the source brings up something interesting, that this line between making stuff and doing stuff isn't always clear-cut.
No, it's definitely blurry sometimes. Lots of businesses do both. Toyota's the example given.
Right. They make cars. Very tangible.
Clearly manufacturing. But then think about their huge dealership network providing servicing, repairs. That's a massive service operation sitting alongside the manufacturing.
So making the car and providing the ongoing support.
Exactly. It's a blend.
What about those operations that happen behind the scenes, the ones customers don't see?
Ah, yeah, those are super important too. The source mentions insurance companies and actuaries.
The people who calculate risk.
Exactly. They use complex maths, stats, formulas to figure out premiums. Most customers never speak to an actuary.
No.
But their work, that internal transformation of data and formulas, is totally fundamental to the whole insurance business. It sets the operational boundaries, really.
Invisible, but essential.
Right.
Okay. And where does the operations manager fit in all this? Sounds like a juggling act.
It really is. The operations manager is like the conductor. They need to make sure those transformation processes are running smoothly, efficiently.
But also align with the business goal.
Precisely. They had to connect operations with sales, marketing, finance, make sure everything works together, and ultimately ensure the output, the product or service, actually meets what customers want.
In terms of quality and value?
Quality, value, cost. Balancing all that with the resources you have in the overall strategy, it's a big job.
Definitely sounds like it. All right, let's wrap this up. What are the absolute key things for you, the listener, to take away from this?
I think the main thing is that basic structure. Inputs go in, they go through a transformation process, and they come out as outputs.
The 3 core elements.
Yeah, and remembering those 6 types of inputs gives you a great checklist. Natural resources materials, physical resources, human resources, financial resources, information, and time.
Understand those, and you've got a powerful way to analyze pretty much any organization, right?
Absolutely.
So as you go about your day, maybe take a second look at the businesses you interact with, your coffee shop, the website you're browsing, a huge factory you drive past.
Try to spot the inputs. Think about the transformation. What's the output?
It really is a different way to see how the world of commerce works.
It is. And maybe that leads to a final thought for you to ponder.
Go on.
How might really getting this difference between making tangible stuff and delivering intangible services, how might that actually change how a company approaches things like marketing, or even how they build relationships with their customers?
Tangible versus intangible outputs.
Yeah.
How does that change your strategy? Interesting question. Something to chew on.